All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to talk about something really cool, the bizarre, fascinating link between the novels of Italian author Dario Vergari and quantum physics. Yeah, you heard that right. Let's get into it. So, let's just jump right in with this quote from his novel, Apro gli occhi, which means, I open my eyes. It just perfectly nails this feeling, the idea that the very ground beneath your feet, your reality, is starting to feel, well, not so solid anymore. So, what if reality isn't as solid as it seems? And look, this isn't just some abstract question for philosophers anymore. It is right at the core of what Vergari writes about. And get this, it's a question that modern physics has been obsessed with for over a century. Okay, so to really get this, we've got to take a quick peek into the pretty unsettling worlds he creates in his novels. These aren't your typical stories. They're places where the rules of reality, they get bent, and sometimes they get completely shattered. Okay, so you've got a guy whose entire perception of reality just dissolves. Then, in another book, a dystopian future where a virus stops aging, creating a society of so-called immortals. They're basically immortal unless they get killed. And then, there's a device that can literally control mass emotions through sound. I mean, these are more than just plots, right? They're huge what-if scenarios. And the thread connecting all of them? A deep, unmistakable echo of 20th century science. And that echo really highlights this massive shift in how we see the universe. It's the jump from the old, predictable, almost clockwork view of things to the much, much stranger quantum world we now know we live in. You've probably heard this famous line from Albert Einstein: God does not play dice. This was him basically throwing his hands up in frustration with the new quantum theory. He just couldn't stomach it. He believed in a universe that was like a perfect, predictable machine. But quantum mechanics threw a wrench in the whole thing by saying, nope, it's all about chance and uncertainty. And this right here, this is the core of the whole thing. On the left, you have the classical universe of Newton and Einstein. Everything is determined, objective, predictable. A big, beautiful clock. On the right, the quantum universe. It's all about probabilities, it's influenced by the person looking at it, it's fundamentally uncertain. In Vergari's fiction, it lives and breathes entirely in that strange, fuzzy, unpredictable world on the right. So, how exactly does Vergara use these mind-bending quantum ideas? Well, here's the thing. He's not writing a science textbook. He's using these concepts as incredible tools for storytelling, for digging into the very nature of our own consciousness. Okay, so quantum indeterminacy. In the quantum realm, a particle doesn't really have a specific spot until you look for it. Before you measure it, it's more like a cloud of possibilities. It could be here or there or anywhere in between. And this idea, it's a fantastic metaphor for the psychological journeys his characters go on. Take Cesare, the main character in Opera Yaki. For him, his own reality starts to liquefy. Those solid bricks of perception we talked about, they just crumble. He starts to realize that what he's experiencing might not be a hard fact, but just his own interpretation, an interpretation that can change. It's a beautiful moment where science and literature are basically asking the exact same question. And that idea leads us straight into another big one from quantum mechanics, the observer effect. The basic gist is that you can't observe something without changing it. The very act of looking at it makes you part of the system, and Vergari has a lot of fun with this idea. Listen to this line from the book. Let's watch them, we who can move freely through space and time. That's the narrator talking. Not just any narrator, but this sort of all-powerful, invisible observer. And it feels like their act of watching is actually what's shaping the characters' fates. It's just like how a scientist's measurement forces a quantum particle to pick a single reality out of all the possibilities. Okay, but Vergari pushes this even further. What if you could move past just influencing reality by watching it? What if you could start to actively build it, to engineer it? In his novel Ravinian, he dives headfirst into that absolutely terrifying idea. So check out how this works. First, they find a lost scientific theory about controlling the human mind. Then, they build a device, they call it the devil, that mixes inaudible frequencies into music. Step 3, mass emotional control. They call it the effecto God, the God effect, and it lets them literally pilot the emotions of a whole crowd. And the final result? A new reality is born, a world where everyone is happy and peaceful, but they've lost their free will. I mean, wow. Reality itself becomes a piece of technology, a program you can run on people. It's a scientific idea twisted into a tool for absolute power. So, after all that, what's the big takeaway? Look, Vergari isn't trying to teach you quantum physics. He's using these strange, mind-bending ideas as powerful metaphors to ask a really deep question about our own lives, about the reality that you and I experience every single day. His novels are basically giant thought experiments. He's showing us that the line between the stories we tell ourselves, the stories we build our lives on, and the actual world we live in is, well, it's way thinner and blurrier than we'd like to admit. And that brings us to one final thought. And it's a big one. If our perception truly does create our reality, then who or what is writing yours? Think about that for a bit. Thanks for tuning in to this explainer.